you were given your mic and your podium, but now it's time to sit down to that chair that's waiting for you. And how do I keep that seat at the table, to your point? And I always think about this.
Welcome to Simply Trade, brought to you by Global Training Center. My name is Lalo, and together with my co-host, Andy Shiles, we have well over 60 years of combined trade, logistics, and supply chain experience. Along the way, we have seen and experienced different challenges in trade compliance. We decided to put the show together and call on our friends and colleagues in the business to discuss these topics and just hang out with us to shoot the ship on all things trade. Thank you for spending some time with us. Enjoy the show. Well, Andy, I lined up a good guest for you today, or for us actually, and I think sometimes we forget about how important it is to have a voice out there and with C-suite, and so I've had a long relationship with Gaby here, and she's done some stuff for us in the past, and I think she has really good information that she can provide for us on this topic.
Well, I can tell you that as we're looking at it, talking about getting the support from upper management is going to be paramount. It's always been a battle. Generally speaking, compliance departments are treated like stepchildren. It's very reactive, and in the last several years, there has been a seat at the table, if you will, for a lot of people created from the compliance area with the upper management. The question is now, because things were changing so rapidly that people needed to be part of the strategic planning, I think. But the question is going to be now is, how do you keep that seat at the table as well as regain it if you've lost it? So, Gaby, welcome to our show. We're looking forward to talking with you. It's like I've thrown a big nugget there, but is there anything you want to start us off with just in general of what you're thinking about today?
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here talking about this topic. And it's one that we get a lot, as you can imagine, being trade compliance consultants. So we get hit by the executives, we get hit from the stepchildren, and I couldn't agree more with the analogy. I think to take a step back, though, having a seat at the table traditionally, if you think about the expression, it's a very proactive term, right? It's like there's been a runway, there's been a series of events that you've earned and you've proven your seat at the table. I would say with the previous administration, we weren't so much allowed for that runway. I think you nailed it when you talked about there's been strategy traditionally with having a seat at the table, but I would say with the series of events of the past few years, there wasn't so much the ability to have those proactive moments of building up to earn your seat at the table. We were kind of just given a mic and a podium, like, go, here, what do I do? And I think that to take a step back from that expression, and now it's about, you were given your mic and your podium, but now it's time to sit down to that chair that's waiting for you. And how do I keep that seat at the table, to your point? And I always think about this more when I talk about the quote unquote seat at the table or the mic and the podium we've been given. I always say we've been living in this reactive world. We haven't had the runway and the time to build these relationships, to structure, to lay the foundation, the solid foundation to build our trade compliance empires on. So to me, it's all about future facing. It's about how to really hone in on, like you said, Andy, that strategic concept, just how to solidify the foundation, look at that foundation, find the gaps, build those gaps into strategy for a company, because having a seat at the table to me is about merit and it's about the value that you provide to a company. And we all know we have merit, and so it's more about how can you communicate the value that trade compliance brings to an organization moving forward.
Gaby,
so that's the $1 million question.
Let me jump in here for a second, though. You're touching on a few good things. One of the things that I've had experience with is in discussing situations with other compliance people. I always get this, especially when my own staff at different companies, but it was, they need to know something. It's like the compliance people have the minutia of detail just in their head. And so then they go to provide an update, if you will. And there is a definitive value of filtering through all of that, the Federal Registry notices, the regulations, the laws, the different things. And then when they go and give this update, it's this long dissertation. And I would look at them going, forget that. No, you can't expect
Yep.
the C-suite or just middle management or whatever to read all that. And they're going, but they, being upper management, need to know that. And I'm like, no,
Yep.
upper management needs to know concisely what's the action you need or you want them to take, what's the information they really need to make a decision. In my mind, is as we're looking at. So the talk a little bit about the conflict of when people are saying the value from the compliance side and what they want to offer versus what is it that upper level they're dealing with everything else. They don't have time to spend a whole lot on compliance. So talk a little bit about that of how do you make that bridge of all this minutia of detail and then try and succinctly update the upper management ranks.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm really glad you addressed that, because this is one of our the output of a lot of the work that we do is we're constantly in our assessments. We always provide our updates as compliance risk versus business risk, because what's considered a compliance risk is not often the business risk. So and it's always about how ultimately getting that in front of the executives. So we use a tool in our world. We build what's called an executive playbook, and when we're talking about value. And if you're the trade compliance person and you're running your import compliance or your export compliance, you think about, okay, value, what is value to a company? It's obviously financial. It's looking at where is the money flowing. So in terms of what you provide to your executives, think about all the minutia, like you said, all the nitty gritty of value. You can talk about ad valorem rates, and that's going to bore the ears off. People don't have the bandwidth. But if you put bullet points and say, hey, give me 30 minutes with your sourcing team, and I'm talking, if the minutia means there's a trade agreement that we can leverage or manufacturing that we can change, executives don't need to hear that. We have the opportunity to save $1 million in duty a year, and the background of that might be through 10 different bullet points that executives don't need to hear. But executives need to hear that you're thinking about the business in a way that you know who to talk to drive impact to the bottom dollar line. You can ask for time with engineering. You can say, as our business scales, your business ideally is always going to be scaling and growing. And as you scale, it's like we're dealing with maybe some high risk technology here. We're pulling in more defense subcontractors. Like, you want to go out after the defense defense? Like, let's give me 30 minutes so I can talk to you about the risks and what that means for the company. Or have you thought, I just came back from a conference. It seems like you're talking now sales. So I think it's about, number one, look at your organization. What are the main departments that generally traditionally provide value? It's sales, engineering. It's those are kind of the two main ones we always focus on. And it's communicating to the executives that I can give these engineering some bullet points on how to scale the business in a way that protects the company and really enables the growth of us in that direction. And it's talking about, I can talk to finance or sourcing on some strategic thoughts and opportunities that can really drive impact to the bottom dollar with the duty rates. And I think if you come like, here's how we can save money and here's how we can facilitate scalability for the future of our company, an executive is not going to not listen to that, right? So that's kind of how we feel.
Well, you're hitting on something I think I like is, let me rephrase it, because again, like I said, I'm dumb as a box of rocks, so I have to keep it pretty simple, right? Is as we're looking at this stuff is translating into taking your message and translating all of this information into something that's going to be accepted or understood more by the executive level. And I'm keeping it simple. It's a case where those executives don't need to go into the details. That's what the compliance folks are there for. I used to tell the staff, your job is to get through all that detail. If an executive wants to know more information, they'll ask questions. And
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit more about your executive playbook. I used to have something what I called the back pocket list for upper management. We would put together
Mm-hmm.
a list of agenda items and some key things. If somebody
Mm-hmm.
were traveling, let's say to Washington D.C. or to a state capital or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, it's like, hey, if you run into somebody from this agency, here's the key thing, and if there's any questions, always just refer them back
Mm-hmm.
to this person. Here's phone number, easy enough. But
Yeah.
what about your executive playbook? What are the kind of things that you put in that? I'm sure it's not very long. It must be very succinct.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the categories it's just two bullet points really. It's the financial opportunities and it's the future opportunities. It's what can be changed today and what can help in the future.
I like where you're going with that. So if that's your executive playbook, the scenario there is that's whatever format you wind up putting that in and keeping it just pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's what you use as an update, whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, but it's
Yeah.
something where they get used to seeing that, but maintaining that, creating it's one thing,
Mm-hmm.
but maintaining it is another thing, right?
Absolutely. So what we've realized through the past few years, by default, a lot of companies created this kind of tiger team, right? With having to move manufacturing or whatever it may be. So it's using those new relationships that you have at the highest echelon and saying like, hey, let's meet, like even if it's going out for beers quarterly, like let me feed you updates on a quarterly basis. And I constantly, let's keep this relationship alive by always working on what can be fixed now and what, I'm going to feed you what you need to know for the future. Like, say, sales, I want to know, what are you targeting? Are we shifting our business into a more defense services kind of business? Is that where the company, that's where the money is? So do we want to go there? And that's why we really focus on those two things.
Let's go on. Let's keep going. There is that from a standpoint, the updates are one thing. Now you again touched on something else that I think is a phenomenal action, and that is you've got to reach out and actually meet with somebody, or hey, let's go get a beer after work, or let's
Mm-hmm.
meet for lunch, or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
You've got to make the effort to get out and get on the calendar of the upper management group. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know you say, or sometimes we will say that they don't care about trade compliance, but the truth of the matter is companies have been burned and they have felt the pain, and companies don't want to feel that pain. Like, I think in the beginning of this conversation, Lala, you talked about being at the cool kids table. I always say we were invited to this party, but no one really wanted us to be there to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's about how to maintain that relationship. It's like you kind of walked in this party, it's like, great. But now it's our job to really make it high level, dumb it down, whatever you need to do. Just what does a company care about? It's future growth.
Right.
It's bottom dollar. So trade compliance touches on every element of an organization, but it's so easy so long as you have that relationship established, which ideally you do, given the past few years. Push it and say, hey, we've been in the trenches together. Like, let's continue this relationship quarterly, put it on their calendar, make it fun, make it informative, and just focus on the value add. It's always going to be there.
Okay, well that's the thing that let's talk that you're in those meetings, you're at the table, if you will. What are the do's and the don'ts and the things to do? I mean, it's one of those things where, have you ever been at a party and you wind up talking to somebody that is, goes so much into detail, you're going, okay, first chance I get, I got to get something else to drink, and off you go.
Yeah,
So let's talk about
absolutely.
that. Is how to, what should you be doing? Do you guys talk about how to train somebody on literally how to communicate with upper management?
So yes, we do. The secret to, as you just said, is not going into the details. So we recommend trade compliance people are by nature very detailed people and can go off
Right.
for ever on those details. So when we talk to our clients on how to stay in front of their executives, it's start with 2 sentences. Just, I have some ideas on how we can save money, and I have some ideas. I heard from sales that we want to start focusing on growing our hardware in this direction. All right. Show something that you've been listening and communicating with other executives or with other key players. So number one, you're showing like, I have ideas on how we can save money. Number two, you're showing ideas on, you're communicating, I've spoken to these people. I know the direction the company is going, and I have ideas on how we can scale that, period.
Yeah.
Gonna leave it at that. And I guess just keep coming back to what impact can I make now? And what impact can I make in the future? And I think there's value also in showing that you've had the back end conversations with other key stakeholders, that you have a good grasp on the business and where it's going in the future. So
That's excellent. I can tell you that one of the things that I would suggest is, as you're talking to, I mean, this is like phenomenal, good information, but it's common sense, quite frankly. But as you're looking at it, one of the things is, what are the current objectives or the current goals or objectives that each of these executive division heads may be shooting for? Everything from increasing sales of your sales. I understand it, but more specifically, the product mix versus the engineering versus the sourcing. You're trying to let's face it, companies are looking for bigger, better, faster, cheaper. Okay, take that, and from a compliance standpoint, look at it and go, in project XYZ, I have some ideas of how to save some money, or do like you're talking about of maybe how to increase sales in this, but do it in a compliant way. Whatever the case is, but it's like, I think that it would be good to take what you just said and add, pull in your targets, pull in your objectives for the company.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think, again, it depends on your relationship and how much time you have with this executive. So I think that would be almost the next level of pulling in the objectives. I don't know if there's, we have clients who receive quarterly plans that come down from the executive. So then you can start to get more detailed. But if you are standing in the lunch line or, whatever, have 3 minutes to talk to your executive, it's, hey, I have some ideas. And then from there, oh, tell me about it. And then it's, well, our objective are X, Y, and Z. And so I think for X, we can do this. And that's your, talking about, I was talking to sales. I was talking to Bob over in accounting. Let's start accruals. I can run reports with my tools. So that's where we can get to the next level. And because you're really we're at the nucleus, but with an exec, or like an onion, right? Execs only want the skin, but at the end of the day, we have to do the whole onion right down to the middle. But an exec is, it just depends on how much bandwidth you get. But if you can just focus on the value add out the gate conversation, and then be ready to back it up. So don't talk to your execs, kind of scale it up and scale it back. So don't talk to your execs until you've understood the goals of the company, which again, it's common sense, right? This is not rocket science, but know the goals. But when you get in front of the exec, just, I have ideas, we can drive change here, and in a good way, and then have the backup. They don't need to hear it out the gate. Keep it simple. Then you have their ear and then say, tell me more. And then you go with the next level.
Let's talk about follow-up then. The next step would be, as you're talking through to these people or whatever, what do you suggest in the follow-up?
Yeah, I said, so I have an example of this. When I worked in-house, I had an opportunity to be next to the CFO in our coffee line. And I mentioned something about accruals, and it's next thing you can send a follow-up and say, as discussed, and here are some bullet points, and we can schedule time, or shoot me an email, like whatever it is. And you send it to the CFO. It's usually filtered, by an assistant or whatever, but, and we encourage our clients to always be acting like that. It's not just about just having the opportunity. It's about just, again, the bullet points. Have your backup ready to go. Don't talk to them. Building your elevator pitch, part of that is gathering facts, right? It's talking to sales, having an idea of what of the company's direction, but ultimately your hook is the dollar. Is I can address the financial bottom line and I can talk about the future. But ideally, you've already assembled your facts. So your follow-up should be, I talked about these two things. Here's some sub bullets. But again, you don't want to give them too much. You don't want to send a whole, more than 3 or 4 sentences. I think that's what do they say? The TLDR. Too long, don't read. You just want just 2 or 3 bullet points under each fact and say, happy to talk to you or another stakeholder about this, and should take 30 minutes. And to your point, don't take all 30 minutes ever when you schedule meetings, and sooner. So,
well, here's something else is that compliance in the past has been very reactionary. And secondarily to that, as I gave the analogy, is been treated, and it still could be to this day, treated somewhat like a stepchild. Just go over and do your compliance thing, get out of the way, and we'll call you if we need you kind of thing. And then when the proverbial, what hits the fan, then he's like, well, why didn't you tell us, Part of the deal with the compliance is building, broadening your base of your network within the company. So, and more specifically, broadening the base of gaining support from other areas. So one of the suggestions that we've just been talking about of meeting with the upper management, giving updates and things, one of the things I would suggest also, and see what your thought is finding somebody or some department that has done something well, and so especially in follow-up to, hey, just want to let you know, Bob over in purchasing did something that's going to support the project I talked to you about last month. It's like, you ought to, here's the question they ask, or here's the something to look at, is that this is a good thing, and I think it's going to help in increasing, the efficiency or reducing costs or whatever the case is. But looking for opportunities to complement some other departments so that, as the old saying goes, you can attract more flies with honey than vinegar. So,
yeah, absolutely. I think that there's huge value in always elevating your teammates and others in the organization. 100%. I think that again is kind of one of those human common sense things that unfortunately not enough people remember, and especially just given the nature. We have the opportunity, of course, with what we do to be part of a lot of different organizations and see different cultures. And we see those cultures where that have a very strong honey trap, and we see others that, it needs some work and improvement. So, yes, I think as a whole, like if I talk about the onion and how from an executive standpoint and the seat at the table standpoint, we want to keep it high level, but fundamentally what you should be doing, and we'll do this a lot of times with trade compliance folks, especially when either someone inherits the hat or it's a new hire, but you sit down and you do a literal map and you put trade compliance in the middle. You say, what are our departments? And with each department, you meet with them so that you can understand their processes. And as you talk to one department, you'll realize that, oh, that's actually, what finance is doing is really, or what sourcing is doing strategically really helps finance. So then you talk to finance and you say, sourcing is doing a great job over here. And then you talk to by the time you get to the executives, just given our position, we have the opportunity to just listen and see and think about what everyone's doing in it from a trade compliance lens. And then we're really at the common denominator of a lot of these different departments. From that, now zooming back out to executives from a duty standpoint, you can say sourcing's doing a great job with this, finance is doing a great job with this. If we did a quarterly meeting where we could just mesh everything together, we can talk about targeting trade agreements, free trade programs. If you're talking on the export side, engineering's doing this, and we've got some, research and development over here as a separate thing. And just, we have this ability to be creative in a way where we can observe and listen, call out the awesome things that these departments are doing, and then have that, by the time you get up to your executive level, you've already had that conversation and you're able to really show that you've listened and point out the great work being done within each other siloed department, because they're all siloed, really.
Well, Gabby, I mean, that is outstanding with what you just went through, because what it's demonstrating by the time you get there, it's not like this, you're coming in from left field. Nobody's really seen you, especially if you're new to the company, but it's like you're coming in and you're like a bull in a china closet, tearing up everything and flipping it. It's like when you have gone through and met with, the folks in the different areas or different divisions and departments, and you've talked with them and listened to them. So then when you get to that C level or upper management level, and you're able to say, you know what, I met with purchasing or sourcing and they did this, and I found out engineering's doing this and operations is doing it, and you just incorporate that into your conversation. It gives you a great deal of credibility, would it not?
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's research. It's what we do best, right? In compliance, we fact find, we investigate, and we're curious. We have to be constantly evolving and, ahead of staying on top of these regulations. We have a very front lines type of job, and this just kind of is part of the puzzle. Again, common sense, and not something we've really had the time to be doing in the past few years, but it's time to take advantage of the time to be, again, proactive, build those relationships. Your time with the executives, that's your time to shine, but don't go in there blind. You got to be prepared. So that's how you get prepared.
Well, you touched on it where you're better off to do your homework, do your research before you start knocking on the C-suite doors. So it's man, I tell you what, Gabby, this is excellent in that be prepared before you walk in, and that's your time to shine, but you don't want to go overboard and you don't want to take too much time. So in and out. So, well, Gabby, is there anything else you would like to add for this in closing?
I don't think so. I think you summed it up perfectly. And yes, just no one likes their time wasted. So do the research, get your facts straight. And again, just focus on the value, what you can change today and how you can help the company moving forward. And I think you do all that and you'll be in a good place.
Well, I'm going to definitely taking the notes here and whatnot. It's obvious you're going to forget more than I'm going to get to learn here. So as looking at this, I hope that I can follow through with all of that. But the folks listening to us, I'm telling you, this is some valuable information. And we'll talk about this isn't how as far as becoming proficient in communications with this. It's not something that is, how do I classify? What's the set in the country of origin? Those are all basics on all this. This is how to communicate. What are the personalities of the people? So, you got different personality programs and how to communicate and how to make it succinct, in your presentations and your elevator speeches and things of that nature.
Absolutely.
Gabby, are you happy with, you happy with where we've gone with this?
Yeah, I think it's a great topic. It's a super critical topic, and I'm grateful to have discussed it with such a legend in the industry too. So thanks for your time as well.
All right, Lalo, what do you think?
Yep. Well, thank you, Gabby.
Great.
That was good.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Simply Trade is brought to you by the generous contributions of Global Training Center. You can follow the show and GTC on LinkedIn or Twitter and other social networks. Make sure you check out the show notes in the description for a full rundown of today's show with all the important links. Also, make sure that you share this with a friend and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. We really like hearing from you. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate and review wherever you listen to this podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest in the show or would like to sponsor Simply Trade or suggest any topic you would like for us to discuss, please contact us via email at simplytrade@globaltrainingcenter.com, or you can DM us on Twitter at simplytradepod. Thank you again for the privilege of your time. Happy trading.